So this is going to be the attempted relaunch of the Riastrad gaming channel as Riastrad Tabletop. And what I want to do is kind of focus on a bit of aspects of being a GM and tabletop gaming. I haven't quite figured out how much I'm going to do with this channel. Uh, the Riastrad aesthetic was always going to be that the channel would be based on a very DIY kind of aesthetic, so would not be using a lot of professional equipment. Instead, um, utilizing a lot of free tools and a lot of other available resources to make something uh, that would be a lot, a lot less polished, which is just kind of something I would have found interesting. Um, so what is going to happen is this weekend I will be running a Dungeons and Dragons session by myself, where I will be both the GM as well as a party of four characters, which is something I haven't really. Well, I've actually done it several times, but have not done it on any kind of video or anything, and I will be utilizing Roll20 for that. So to do this, I need to make four new characters specifically for this, and I thought it'd be kind of neat to just do that here on on a video and let you actually see, because right now you're looking at a white screen, so you could actually see the character creation in process. And for this, I will be using yeah, I get really quiet so I can type. This is the third edition of Dungeons and Dragons from the year 2000. There's a lot of unpopularity here, not because of the system itself, but because in 2003 the system was completely revised into D&D 3.5, and in 2007, I believe, Paizo then published the Pathfinder role-playing game, which was a revision of the 3.5 version of this game. So this is a really, really old version of what became Pathfinder. This is what Pathfinder was built on top of. And I decided it's something I haven't really looked at for a very long time. And I think it's very nostalgic for me. There are a lot of problems with it, but I haven't played it in so many years that I thought it would be a good thing to explore to kick all this off. So I will have a little background music here. Hopefully it's not going to drown out my voice too much. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, there's the downside of the DIY aesthetic right there. I will be creating four new characters in this video, and I will be creating them from scratch. And all I have written down on my notes are Dwarf Wizard, Elf Barbarian, Half Orc Bard, and Human Rogue. Okay, and I will just go ahead and type these down. I really want to work on these particular characters because they're so unusual, and that it's not a half Ord, it's a half Orc. You'd never think of an elf barbarian. That just seems insane to even consider. So that's going to be fun to play that. And then the half orc bard is really going against type. Really have this idea of a guy who's just big and tough and looks like he wants to smash things, and all he wants to do is sing these ballads. Um, so I really think that'll be a fun character to be playing. And then the human rogue is kind of, you know, just kind of there. So I almost see like a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of group set up here where you've got, I don't know. that's kind of what I'm seeing in my head. It's just a list of races and classes right now. I don't know what the characters' names or personalities are going to be, and that's what you get to see in this video. To roll up the stats, I will be using 4d6. I will be using physical dice, which unfortunately you cannot see in the video, so I will type the numbers as I get them. And one thing that happens when you are a GM for a long time, and you've made a lot of characters, is you really get good at reading 4d6 drop 1. And sometimes you can really use that to, like, if you see a new GM, sometimes you can kind of mess with them a bit like that. It's really awful. And these are some both good and mediocre rolls. This is going to be above average for the character. These are good rolls, but you know, I don't see a 16. I don't see anything extraordinary here. So, I mean, this is an above average character. No deficits whatsoever. And when you are using a dice roll method, that is something that does happen, is you do get these characters that are really unbalanced. I was always of the feeling when I played 3rd edition that it kind of added a bit more diversity in characters, having the randomized stats. Mechanically speaking, it's very unbalanced, and yeah, the roll of the dice here can really ruin your character. So in a lot of, you know, following games, they actually use other methods, and if you get to Pathfinder 2nd edition, they did away with dice rolls entirely for character stats. So this character is average, average, average with one really good stat. And this is just a bad roll. I'm really not looking forward to this character. I mean, really, really not looking forward to this character. But I am, you know, I'm going to follow through and I'm going to play this character. I mean, look, all these deficits, all these averages, all these heights, that is going to be very interesting. A bit, you know, approaching min-max territory in my opinion. And this will be the last character here. And this one looks like another fairly average character. Alright, so I've got 4 ability stats and then these 4 different character concepts. So let's start with the Dwarf Wizard. Now, I have these 6 ability scores to assign. And if you've played Pathfinder, you will recognize these are the same scores that are used in that game, because Pathfinder is 3rd edition with a big facelift. So for the wizard, the main thing you want to do is have a really high intelligence. And with that said, I'm going to put the intelligence here as a 15. So let me just mark that off here. And because of the way wizards work, I'm not going to bother putting strength in the wizard, so I'm going to take the weakest score and put it into that slot. Constitution is something I have a bad habit of neglecting. However, in this case, I think I'm going to actually make a tough wizard. And in 3rd edition, wizards have almost no hit points at level 1. So this is not a bad idea. It's just something that I feel as the game progresses becomes less and less important, as how I feel about it. I don't know, I think this person should be rather rude. They're pretty good at dodging things thrown at them, and then they have wisdom. And next, though, we have to apply the racial bonuses. And I will say something I really like in the original 3rd edition core rulebook in the player's handbook is table 2.1 has all of the racial modifiers in one little box. So you don't have to look up specific pages. It's all right here. Right here. So you get a +2 Constitution and a -2 Charisma. So this is a very unlikable character and a very tough character. It's a bit unusual for a wizard to have a higher Constitution than Intelligence. Okay, and just to for people watching who are not me. I am going to put in the ability modifiers as well. And, of course, the charisma is a -1. Now, for barbarians, they are all about strength. So let's just go ahead and put that strength here, and then put the 12 in the Constitution. And everything else, I mean, we really can just assign those kind of wherever. So this isn't a character that really even wants to bother getting out of the way. With the Constitution, I'm actually thinking, with these average scores, this character's not going to have a great Constitution. The elf takes a Constitution penalty, but does get a dexterity boost. So they have a Constitution of 10. And, I mean, looking at this, if someone showed me this character sheet, I would tell them to re-roll this character. And one thing I do is I look at the total mods of the character. And if you look at the dwarf, that's a 2 plus a 3 plus a 2 plus a 1 minus a 1, which is going to be 7. A +7, which is actually ideal. That's what you're aiming for in 3rd edition. With the elf barbarian, you get a 4 and a whole bunch of zeros. That's a +4. This character is severely deficient. If it were one of my games, it is one of my games, but if I were hosting this for others, then I would absolutely make them re-roll this character. Or I would give them some extra points to spend on improving their ability scores. For the half-orc bard, now with this character, this is where charisma really comes into play. And as a half-orc, they do not have good charisma. They do not have good intelligence. A bard is definitely against type for a half-orc. So I am going to be playing at a deficit here. This character will have a charisma of no higher than 14. And so I'm just going to go ahead and give them that. As a half-orc, they're going to get that strength boost, so I'm not going to really worry too much about strength. I'm actually even going to put my lowest score into strength. But I'm thinking, as the bard needs to be able to use some skills, I'm going to give them a 15 in intelligence. This leaves me to pick one of these to be its weak point. The bard is going to have some wisdom. I figure their performances probably give them a little bit of agility. So I'm going to put the Constitution with the 9. So it's going to be the bad score. When I add in the racial modifiers, we now get 9, 13, and 14. I don't know what happened there. So, again, this character is even worse. Because, the elf had a +4 total modifier. The half-orc is a +3. And this leaves the human rogue. And humans, have, in this case, have no ability adjustments. That's something that was changed in Pathfinder. But in 3rd edition, humans are just plain vanilla, which means I have no choice but to put the 15 into dexterity. I'm not even going to wait for the others to type that. And so, I don't know. I feel like my rogues often get into a lot of trouble, so let's do that. Now we have a 7, a 10, and 11. Oh. Let's just say they're very foolish. So I've got a 10 and 11 here. I'm actually going to reassign this, and then the 10. It's not going to do as much damage, but I will rely on sneak attack to help with that. And so in this case, we've got total modifiers of 5. A little better. But it just kind of demonstrates using the 4d6 drop 1. These are the kind of stats you can be looking at getting. It can be very random. You could get an overpowered character. You could get an underpowered character. I rolled up a character earlier this evening that had that didn't have any stats that were under 12. So this is what the character stats are going to look like. Now, for the dwarf wizard, I have to come up with a character concept. And with a character like this, I kind of think about, why is this dwarf becoming a wizard? Where do they come from? And dwarves are usually known for living underground, and they're kind of very grouchy. Very much inspired by the Tolkien-esque dwarves, but very much mountain-dwelling creatures. But there are other versions of them. Since this is going to be an entirely homebrew world, I can set the lore to be whatever I want. So I've got to wonder, what would bring a dwarf to learn magic, come out from the mountain, and hang out with an elf, a half-orc, and a human? And so, maybe this is a very greedy wizard. And so I'm wondering what kind of a greedy wizard there would be. And so, I'm starting to think maybe a lawful neutral character could actually be good here. And I'm going to go with that this is a lawful neutral. Because a lawful neutral character will hold to their contracts. They will hold to their agreements. They don't care whether what they're doing is really right or wrong, but they are honest about it. They tend to work within order. And so this is a wizard who would really honor the value of trade and would take oaths very seriously and doesn't really care about the overall consequences. So, now in the official rulebook, in the player's handbook, Pathfinder has ruined me for saying core rulebook. In the player's handbook, wizards are actually biased towards the law by nature. However, with the exception of illusionists and transmuters who actually prefer chaos, there is no enforcement of that in the rules, and it was essentially dropped in later games. So, when you create a wizard, you pick a specialized school from the different schools of magic, and this is for someone who is really looking to attain wealth. Divination could be useful in that. Enchantment could certainly be useful for... Transmutation is where I'm going to go on this. Now, transmutation is that chaotic school, but essentially the ability to change objects would be able to create something of greater value. So with specialty in transmutation, I now have to choose a prohibited school, which could be conjuration, evocation, or two of abjuration, enchantment, and illusion, or any 3 schools. So, I'm going to say this one's a little spooked out by evocation, meaning it's a lot of offensive magic is going to be out. So, alright, so now I've already got the basics of this character settled. And then we start looking at the stats with this. The first thing we're going to add, just like in Pathfinder, is the base attack bonus, which is going to be +0. The fortitude, reflex, and will saves. Alright. Right. Now with that low wisdom, they don't have a really good will save. So these are now my saving throw modifiers. We also have 2 abilities here of Summon Familiar and Scribe Scroll as a bonus feat. The other thing that I'm going to have to look at is the skill, is the number of skills for the class. And I do kind of wish that I could still just look, just remember all the stuff off the top of my head, but I do have Pathfinder messing with my brain on that. Just been playing a different game so long now. So one thing that is really different with 3rd edition from Pathfinder is the class skill system is vastly different. And with the skills, you actually can go up to 3 above your level. 3 points above your level. At level 1, I can have 4 ranks in any one skill, if it's a class skill. However, if it is not a class skill, the number of ranks you can have is cut in half. So you can learn any skill you want, but some are unlocked for their full potential, which I guess I kind of have mixed feelings on both approaches. It's a very different approach from, say, D&D 5th edition and Pathfinder 2nd edition are doing with their proficiency methods, and they're adding your level in as a modifier. So you can keep leveling up and neglect a skill here. Numerically, it's going to come out the same if you put 1 rank in a class skill in Pathfinder or 4 ranks in the class skill in 3rd edition. It's going to be the same result. At least with 3rd edition, I don't have to explain to people about the favored class bonus the class skill bonus. However, I also with 3rd edition have to explain that the cap is 3 and then half of that. So on the character sheet there is a line for max ranks, which in this case is going to be 4/2. And for my class skills, I've got, I'm going to do the skills later. I am going to just add in my HP real quick, which my HP is going to be based on 4 plus my constitution. The wizard uses a D4 HD, so 4 hit points at level 1. So my character has 7 HP to start with. For a wizard in 3rd edition, that is excellent. You can only potentially go up to 9 HP at level 1 without taking the toughness feat. So When it comes to picking out my skills, this is kind of where I'm going to have to put my book up on the table here. So we've got alchemy, concentration, craft, knowledge arcana, knowledge religion, knowledge nature, general knowledge skills, profession, spellcraft. Well, we definitely want spellcraft, and we definitely want knowledge arcana. And I want to, I'm actually going to skimp out on knowledge arcana with 1 point, because I want to do some alchemy, and I'm going to put a 3 in that. So I still have 6 skill points to spend here. And I will use Scry, although it is really almost never used. But actually with 6 skill points, like I say, it's not well used. So let's do Listen to, and Spot to, and Search to. Alright. And so adding in the modifiers to this, my spellcraft modifier is going to be adding in my wisdom. It's going to be my intelligence, sorry. It's going to be a 6, it's going to be a 5, it's going to be a 5, adding in my really bad wisdom. Okay, so these are my skill modifiers here. Well, okay, so OneNote is not wanting to cooperate too much on this. And so everything else on this is going to be an untrained check. I'm already almost done making this character, which is good because there's also several more to go. Which means the next thing is at level 1 you pick 1 feat. And I already have Scribe Scroll as a bonus feat, so I don't really have to do anything with that. It seems weird to me seeing this single page that has all the feats on it, because if you look through any of the Pathfinders, there are whole sections on feats, and in 3rd edition it's all 1 page. And so, I mean, toughness is always good for your spellcasters to keep them from being easily killed. But what I am going to do is actually take spell focus on transmutation. And using this, I can now get a +2 on the difficulty class for saves against my spells. Alright, the next section in the player's handbook has to do with your character's alignment and their background. So I get to pick the deity for this character, and I see no reason to not have my dwarf here follow Moradin, the god of the dwarves, the soul forger. So that's pretty much an easy choice here. Now, I now have a pretty good idea who this character is. For a starting age as a wizard, I'm going to add a 7d6 to the starting age of 40 years to determine how old this character actually is. and that looks like it is going to be a 6 plus, that's 9, and that is a 13. So 53. Good. So we have a 53-year-old character. Now, for a dwarf to reach middle age is 125 years. This stuff is pretty much left out from Pathfinder, I believe. Can also do the random starting height. It's going to be. I also need to decide if this is going to be a male or a female, and I already know this character is male. You can tell by the beards. So that is a 7 plus, so 3, 9 plus 7 inches. So 4 foot 4 inches. And with that, I'm trying to remember how the weight modifier works on this because I haven't done it in a long time. So we have 7 times, wow, 7 times 6, it's going to be 42 pounds. This thing's, yeah. All right, 172 pounds. So this is a bit of a heavy character. Then want to decide some aspects of this character. Premature gray hair. I have a kind of a goatee thing going on, and as far as the personality, very grouchy and greedy. Okay, and so coming up with a dwarf name in this case is going to be, well, I don't know how I'm going to come up with a good name on this. So as a male name, I'm kind of looking at, these are very Norse-sounding names here. You have things like Eberk, which actually is one of the example names used in some of the D&D materials from 3rd edition. I don't really want to use any of these names, which is fortunate that this is my game. However, I'm thinking about a certain actor's name, Rutger Hauer, who did not play a wizard. He did, however, play Uther, who was who was a friend of Merlin, who was a wizard, so that's the closest I can get. I'm going to call this character Rutger. I'm not going to bother with the last name, but when I roleplay this character, they will have their own background and backstory. With 3rd edition, you can either do starting packages or you can do the you can do your character's equipment a la carte. Normally, I would do the do it a la carte. However, because we are doing this as an example thing, I don't want to be taking forever on those decisions, so I'm going to go with the wizard starting package, which being a dwarf means we got, so apparently, let's see, no armor, we have a light crossbow. So, And these are all abbreviations that you really get used to using. The first thing is the damage die, then the crit range, the crit modifier, and range, increment, the weight, and then the damage type. Right. And a bonus feat for humans would be skill focus, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not a human. Okay? Now, this is a crossbow case. I have 10 bolts for my crossbow, and I start with 2d4 gold. Which means I can still buy 5 gold pieces worth of stuff. And since I don't really have need for much else, this guy's really cranky, so I actually want him to have a quarterstaff. Because he's just going to bop people in the head with it. Okay. And I think I definitely would want this character to have some trail rations, which are going to cost 5 SP per day. I usually like to keep a week's worth, which is 3.5, which is going to take most of the money of this character. Now, as a wizard, I do have a spell book by play. I did not remember if I read that specifically. I'm pretty sure that's how it's always been. And if it is not, I'm house ruling it in. Because it makes no sense for me that a wizard would not have a spell book. I'm pretty sure that they get a spell book for free at level 1. Spell books, yes, they must study with their prepare. Wizard begins play with a spell book containing all level 0 spells plus 3 level 1 spells of the player's choice. Was each point of intelligence bonus, so I actually can do, I can pick 5 level 1 spells to learn for this character. And since I've already picked out the equipment, that is really all that is left to pick out are the 5 spells, and this character is ready to play. And so, I really need to focus on the transmutation, and enlarge would be kind of nice for this character. Shocking grasp is going to be very helpful. Reduce, because if I'm going to be enlarging, I probably should be able to undo that. This character's probably had a lot of fall, so I'm going to do Feather Fall. And because this character's speed is really slow, let's do Expeditious Retreat. So this is the spell book. And so far as the game goes, this is 10 pages in the spell book. All of these will have a DC of +2 because of the spell focus, because these are all from the Transmutation School. This character is ready to go. I need to just clean up a few details here. This with okay, so he's a Dwarf Wizard, Transmutation 1. And the last thing I need to pick for this character, and I'm going to put it up here, is the familiar. As a wizard, you do get to pick a familiar. In Pathfinder, this has been replaced with an arcane bond, which can either be an object or an animal. So I'm trying to think what would be really good for a dwarf to have. So I'd want to be something underground. So I'm going to go with a bat. And because Rutger Hauer played a character named Batty, I am going to call this bat Roy. And so it will have the same basic stats as a bat from the monster manual. I'm not going to grab the monster manual right now because I want to move on to the next character. But it will now have the hit points as being 3 HP. And the saving throw bonuses would be, let's see. So yeah, it will actually be kind of a mix of the saving throw bonuses. I will have to figure out some of the stuff later. But yeah, so that's Rutger. And now for the Elf Barbarian. So I'm thinking about, just someone who seems really graceful. And this is going to be a female character. That's what I've realized. I don't know much else yet, but this character is female. And I do not know her name. She is an elf. Now, elves start out with proficiency with the longsword and rapier, but we're not going to do that. I do also want to add in some, make sure there are racial bonuses that I added in here. And so there's an appraise bonus on Rutger if there is something stone related. Aside from that, though, I'm not going to dwell too much on those details. So the elf barbarian's name is Glamara, and she hates that name. She really hates when people call her Glammy. Really just upsets her. She's really just an elf with a really short temper. She never really paid attention in her studies, so she doesn't know how to read. And so with a constitution of 0, her hit die is going to be a d12, so she has 12 HP. A little bit more, a little bit less than half of the... Sorry, a little less than double. Well, I'm not even knowing what I'm talking about these days. Yeah. The skill points at first level are going to be 4 plus intelligence times 4. With a 0 intelligence, that's simply 16 skill points with a maximum of 4. And let's see, the alignment. This character is chaotic good. I think she really means well, and that's why she's joining with these adventures. So you've got this lawful neutral wizard who's all about money, and you've got this very rebellious, delinquent barbarian who really has a good heart. These two are going to be so annoyed at each other just by existing. So getting to play these two in a party is going to be fun. As a barbarian, we get a base attack of +1, and then fort is 2, reflex and will is 0. So, if I'm not wearing heavy armor, then I get a +10 to my speed, which is good. So I can actually run pretty fast. There actually is not really... Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking to see if there are any bonuses here going on. With the rage, which goes 1 per day, it's a +4 strength, +4 constitution, +4 will saves, -2 AC, which would increase the hit points by 2. And so the rage is going to last for 5 rounds. And I don't know, there's something where I'm seeing the mechanics of this just work in a way that makes more sense story-wise than Pathfinder, where it's really gamed. And by that I mean you get 1 rage per day, whereas in Pathfinder it's based on rounds per day. So you can just once per day go into that Riastrad mode, where you go and you smash everything and then you're wiped out from it, which I just feel makes a little bit more sense in the story, because when you go into a rage like that, it should be like a devastating final thing. Like, you're done with it, like, look over the mess and just, yeah. That's how it really should play out. It should be something that is saved for when you're fighting the boss, or when you're just completely surrounded, you just lose it. And story-wise, it makes it so much better. It really cheapens it if you can do it more often than that. That said, I mean, with a level 20 barbarian in 3rd edition, you get 6 rages per day. So go ahead and add in the starting package here, which is going to be for an elf barbarian. This is going to, let's see, it will have the studded leather armor, +3. Okay. I will move 40 feet. I will carry a great axe. Now, this great axe was an inheritance gift. From her nephew, because that just seems crazy. And it is a 1d12, an x3, 20-pound, large and slashing. I also will have a short bow, which is a 60 feet, 2 LB. P, and then a dagger, which is going to be a 1d4 Alright, and then for skill selections, there's actually some skills picked out for the character in the starting package, but I'm not going to go with that. I will, however, take their suggestion on weapon focus great axe. So that'll give me a better attack with this great axe here. But I am going to make sure to add in, we have a backpack, water skin, just 1 day's worth of trail rations, but okay. Bedroll, sack, flint and steel. Quiver with 20 arrows and 2d4 gold to spend. So we've got 3 GP there. Alright, then I just need to pick out the skills to finalize this character, and then this character is done. And so animal empathy is not really available. However, handle animal is. And as an elf, it makes sense that I would have handle animal accessible. So I'm not going to put too many ranks in it, but I'll take 2 in that. Intimidate. Now this is going to be important. And so I've still got 10 points to spend. Let's just do a profession. Okay, so I seem to be... Don't know if I'm remembering the skills quite right, because let's see, there are half ranks. Fortunately, all of those skills should have... I'm going to go over Rutger's skills real quick, because Spot is a... Let's see. So each skill point you spend on a cross-class skill gets your character a half rank in that skill. So, pretty much means that these skills are actually going to have to drop by 1 for the same cost. Which is kind of good to know. Handle Animal and Intimidate are both barbarian skills, so that's fine. Intuit Direction, which makes sense for an elf. So let's just put 3 there. This gives me 7 points to spend somewhere else. Jump, yes. Gives me 4 points to spend somewhere else. Ride. And I think, I don't know, I'm going to put 2 ride and 1 in tumble. Alright, now I get to crunch the numbers on this character. I've got to add the Constitution and Reflex, which is 1, and then the Will, which is 0. So really poor saves here. The AC is going to be 14. Again, not very good at all. With skills, Handle Animal is actually charisma based here, I believe. And with a charisma of 0, then there is no modifier. For Intimidate, that is also charisma based, no modifier. Intuit Direction is wisdom based, no modifier. Jump is strength based, but it also takes a armor check penalty. So adding in my strength would make it 6, but then it goes to 5 because of the ACP. Ride is dexterity, which I believe should also have the ACP, but it does not. So with the ride, it's actually a 3, and then the tumble is going to be a 1 because the dexterity bonus is balanced out by the armor check penalty. And so this character is finished. And so far I've only made 1 major mistake in creating these characters. So I'd like to say that's doing pretty good. So now I'm ready to move on to, and I do want to start some music back. I want to do the half-orc bard. Now, with the bard, the charisma is everything. These ability scores are awful. But, I'll work with what I can work with. I guess taking this halfway point, I do want to explain the biggest difference you're going to see. And if you convert third edition materials to Pathfinder 1E, you're really going to notice this, is that the skills are totally different. A lot of skills got merged into other skills. Some of them got expanded on. But you have skills like alchemy, animal empathy, balance, concentration, decipher script, forgery, gather information. Is gather information Pathfinder? I should know that. Hide, innuendo, intuit direction, listen, move silent, open lock, pickpocket, read lips, scry, search, spot, and tumble and use rope, and wilderness lore are all removed from Pathfinder and replaced with other skills. So one of the biggest impacts this will have when you're converting a Pathfinder, third edition game to Pathfinder, is that all of the perception-based skills, such as search and spot, got merged into one. So if you really wanted to, you could reassign skill points for something. Just the easiest thing to do is to just anytime you see the word spot or search or listen, mentally replace it with the word perception and just let it be. That's the fastest way to deal with it. It's not quite perfect, but that lets you use a lot of third edition material without many modifications. Anyway, so back on with the Bard. And I'm acting like this is the first time I've ever made a half-orc Bard before. I don't have this character's name or anything. I just know they're big and tough, and you look at them and you think this is the barbarian. And I know this character is bald, and actually is a little pale. I don't know why I know that, but this character is going to be just a little bit pale. They are a follower of Farlangen. It's just a fun name to say. But I don't know. This one's going to have... I'm going to call him Charell. Not Charles, but Charell. And so, the Bard is also going to be chaotic good, and I think Glamara and Charell have a long history together. So, this means Rutger is going to be someone they don't like, and I think the Bard is actually going to be a good intermediary between the two. So hit die is going to be d6 with that Constitution penalty. That's going to be 5 HP, not too great. I could be looking at a TPK on Sunday. And if that happens, I have no one to blame for but myself, because I am both the player and the DM. So we have the base attack of 0. We have a fort of 0, which I'm going to go ahead and add in the scores this time. Okay, spells per day. At level 1, you get 2 level 0 spells. And unfortunately, the cantrips and orisons and such from Pathfinder don't exist. At least they do, but in Pathfinder, they have unlimited uses. In Dungeons and Dragons, they are still limited in use. So, when you hear all this, you realize that when I first looked at Pathfinder, I saw how overpowered they made everything. It's like they saw the things that you had to think about with your character, and they were just like, oh, well, you actually don't bother about that. You get this too. It was a lot of extra bonuses and a lot of beefing up your level 1 characters. It's something I've gotten used to. So, yeah, I'm trying to remember now. Does the Bard get a bonus spell in level 0? Because I do not believe they do. Yeah, you do not get bonus spells in level 0. Do not get a bonus spell in level 1. So bards are not that powerful yet. This means my party does not have a good healer going on. I could look through my other books and, get something out of the spell compendium, but I want to keep this with the core rulebooks for right now because I will need to reacquaint myself with the system because I have not played it in so many years. So with the bardic music, this has been replaced by bardic performance later, but in this version, it's once per day per level. You can use your song or poetics to produce magical effects, and I don't know if I want to focus on more inspire courage or counter song or fascinate, but I can pick that on the fly. I do, however, need to put my skill ranks into perform to use the magic, to use this. And so there's some good options here. I'm really going to have to look back over the bard because I don't remember it all too well. But yeah, have this bard be something of a, actually end up being something of a know-it-all, even though they don't really know too much. With the starting package, looks like it's going to be also studded leather +3. The arcane spell failure is going to be familiar to Pathfinder players because it existed exactly in the same way in 3rd edition. That is something that never changed. Okay. Okay. Then we have a backpack, a water skin, so this guy's going to carry a lute around. I don't know whether he's actually going to play it. I think he's more of a singer. And as far as gold, 2 GP remaining. Okay. Adding in the base attack bonus of 0, then the armor check penalty, or base attack bonus, so... next part will be picking my feat. I'm not going to go with a suggested feat. This is where I can kind of make up for some of the deficiencies in this character. So, with a low wisdom score, it's sad that the wizard is the only one with a good wisdom score. So, with the bat, that will actually improve the wizard's alertness automatically. I don't really have a good enough dexterity to really want to use combat reflexes. With 5 HP, though, that's kind of worrying. So I'm actually going to take toughness as a feat. This puts me up to 8 hit points and 2 GP. Last thing to do on this character will be to choose Charles' feats and be good to go. Now, Glamara's deity I did skip over as a chaotic good character. I don't know, let's just have this character follow Glamara, just the god of rogues. I'll go back and do both Glamara and Charles' vital statistics later. Right now, I just want to focus on the fact is, actually, I'm not going to pick the spells because bards should be able to change their spells dynamically. I do want to double check that because I have not run 3rd edition in a very long time. They have a verbal component. They receive this. They're a spontaneous caster. So this is great. Bards have no need to do any preparation. They're spontaneous casters like sorcerers. I really don't even need to look up what the spells are going to be for. So Charell is done, leading to the last character, who is the rogue. Now for a rogue at level 1, you have a base attack of 0, R2, W0. I'll go ahead and add in my modifiers here. Very good dodger, not very willful character. Sneak attack plus 1d6. Sneak attack. Alright, so for this character, again, I don't know if this is going to be a male or female character. I don't know who this character is yet. But with a hit die of d6, this character has 6 HP. The skill points are better than anyone else. They have actually got 60 skill points to spend at the beginning. At level 1 in this case. Right. Traps. Rogues can use the search skill to locate traps when the task has a DC higher than 20. Good. Let's do a human rogue starting package, which is going to be their armor plus 2. Okay. And then the recommended feat is alertness, but I want to see about doing something different. 2d4 gold, so going to start with only 2 gold pieces, no telling what they spent it on. I'm really starting to think this character's a she. So now I want to look at the skills. When I have 60 points like this, the easiest thing to do is just pick 10 skills and max them out. And with the case of the rogue, practically everything is a class skill. There is a big deficiency in the party in searching and spotting, so I'm going to definitely start with a search of 4. Let's do use magic device. Use rope 4. So let's see, what have I got here? I've got 6. I can pick 4 more skills. I can pick 3 more. And now I just need to add in some of these numbers then. With the dexterity and the armor, I actually have an AC of 14, which is, just as good as the barbarian, interestingly. Now, with the search skill being based on, being wisdom... No, intelligence, yeah. Search is intelligence-based, which is good because that makes this a 6. Use magic device is charisma-based, which is good because that makes it a 6. Now use rope is dexterity-based, also makes it a 6. Balance is dexterity-based, but with an armor check penalty. Fortunately, leather armor has no armor check penalty. Diplomacy is going to be a 6. Bluff is a 6. 6. Hide is dexterity. 6. Innuendo. Now, is innuendo considered wisdom? Or, yeah, that's a wisdom skill. So this is actually only a 2. And move silent is a 6. All that's left now is to pick this character's feat and then figure out what her personality is. And I now have created 4 characters, 4 totally brand new characters for a game that I will be running on Sunday. So I just need to pick what I think would be a good feat for a rogue of this type. And point blank shot could actually be good, I think. Combat reflexes... I would rather see a mobility-based feat, and I can't really get those until I've gone past level 4. Expertise... Well, let's see, with expertise. Because... Okay. I actually think expertise makes some sense here. So I'm going to do expertise. And what expertise does in 3rd edition is when my character makes an attack, I can actually deduct up to 5 from my attack bonus and put that towards my armor class. So this character can actually have an AC of up to 19 if I'm willing to be risking losing my attack. So I'm thinking, like, as a sniper effect, I could hide somewhere, draw my short bow, intentionally make a very weak shot with it. If it hits, sneak attack damage. If it doesn't hit, I get an armor boost. Not too bad either way. So I just need to finish figuring out who this character is, what is she doing with these characters, and why is she somehow able to get this? So obviously she's promising Rutger some money with a true neutral character would be too. It's kind of hard to go from lawful neutral, chaotic good, and trying to mediate with that. I'd almost think you'd need to be maybe a neutral good character could do it, a very charismatic neutral good character. This will have to do. So let's do a neutral good character, someone who doesn't mind picking pockets but knows it's wrong. So we have that, and then we have to figure out what is this character's name. And so I know that it's just someone who doesn't have a big problem stealing from people. So, it's Shirke. Yeah, let's do it that way. Yeah, figure out the spelling on that. There, I think that'll work. So these are now 4 characters ready to go. The only thing left is for them to do their daily spell preparations and to work out the attack numbers on their weapons. I don't know why I didn't bother on that yet, because that's not even that hard. It's like here, light crossbow with base attack bonus of 0 is going to be a +0. The club, likewise, is a +0. Actually, this is a light crossbow. It's going to be a +2. No damage bonus on those. Quarterstaff, again, it's a +0. If I make 2 attacks, I take a nice penalty on that. So with a great axe, we're going to add in a +4 on that. Plus d6 +3 with a ×3 damage. Short bow is going to be a +2 with no damage bonus. Dagger +4, 1d4 +3. I can kind of see a lot of similarity between the barbarian and the rogue, actually, when I look at these stats. Okay, the longsword with a strength of -1. Wow. So. Alright, so base attack of 0, and then a dexterity. If I'd have bothered to give this character weapon finesse, which I should have, this would be a much better attack. So that's something I will want to keep in mind with. I don't know, maybe I should actually, instead of the expertise, though I really liked it, I probably should do weapon finesse instead. This is the part I don't like, is where I have a character concept that's interesting, but then I see something mechanically better. And I would rather have an interesting character than one that fits that is crunchy, that is really good for min-maxing. And if you can tell with these characters, there is no min-maxing here. These characters are really poorly optimized. I'm doing the best I can with these bad dice rolls, which, it's kind of refreshing to go back to this kind of gameplay. So if I do weapon finesse, my base attack bonus has to be a +1, so I can't take weapon finesse yet. So I'm good to go with expertise. These characters are good to go. I just want to pick out their heights and weights. so on, their ages. With, okay, so starting with an elf. An elf's, and also figuring out where I put those dice. Okay, so as an elf barbarian, I do 46 for this. This is going to be a 14 added to 110, so 124 years, and as a let's see, elf, 2d6 added to the height. That would be 7 added to 4, 5, so she actually is 5 feet. She's 5 feet and she's 105 pounds. Okay. And so that finishes this character with Charell, the bard. They are actually only 17 years old. And for a half-orc man, that will be a 2d10 added here, which is a 10. So adding 10 inches to this height modifier is going to be only 5 foot 5 inches. That's not making much sense because it doesn't make sense. It's 5'8". Not a particularly tall half-orc. Right. So this is now multiplied by 5, so 35 on top of that weight. All right. And all that's left is the human. And the human starting age is simply going to be, for a rogue, again, 17. 17 years old, and then 2d10 for the height modifier, which is 16 inches over 410, so that'll be 14. Wow. Yeah, this character is quite tall at 6'2". Alright, so then, and now for some quick math, 6 times 16 is the weight modifier, so which is going to be 96 added to the base weight of 120, so all right, and there you have it. I have 4 brand new characters. The sheets will be finished and put on Roll20 this weekend, and on Sunday you will get to see these characters interact in a homebrew setting and kind of see what personalities they have. And I'll be looking forward to it.